Prasanna sir is incredible. It was a very illuminating experience working with him. The core idea of the story, that of it being about a married couple, and I feel like in a country like India, if we decide to not restrict our stories by language, I guess this is the first time I'm going to be talking about my character in it.
Hi, I'm Riya Mehrotra from The Week magazine, and we are in conversation with Roshan Mathew, the pan India actor whose recent film is a Busan winner, Paradise, and it's up for release tomorrow. So, hi, Roshan. How are you?
Hi, Riya. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
And your film Paradise has won at the Busan Film Festival. So, what are the feelings?
Yeah, I mean, right now it feels like Busan was a long time ago because the film's been traveling consistently at multiple festivals. It's been playing all over the world, actually, and now we're heading into worldwide release tomorrow. So I guess all festival related euphoric feelings have been put aside, and right now it's just all of us are prepping to go out in theaters and meet the audience with the film.
Right. And you had a wonderful screening in Mumbai. So this is the first time I believe you're collaborating with Sri Lankan filmmaker Prasanna Vithanage. So
Yeah.
tell us about your experience with working with him. He's known for making films that focus on hard-hitting issues. So how did you find the script, and what were your feelings when you read the script?
Prasanna sir is incredible. Firstly, he started off with theater, moved into films, and he's been working in the general area of storytelling for so long that he has currently reached such a mature place in his career. In how he views the art form, and there is a certain sense of simplicity, of minimalism in his filmmaking, which I really admire. I saw that in a film called With You Without You. I saw that in Gadi, Children of the Sun, which was his previous release before Paradise, and I saw it in Paradise too when I finally got to watch the film at IFFK. It was a very illuminating experience working with him. Actually, when I first read the script, I only had a phone conversation with him and then looked up some of his work and read a little bit about him. Then I read the script, and while I thought it was a brilliant script, I also felt like maybe because I have done this film called Choked. I had done Choked already at that point, and I thought maybe I shouldn't be the person doing this. Maybe it'll feel repetitive if I do it. So I decided to meet him and talk to him about it, and that became a long conversation, which I think went on for about 4.5, 5 hours. This was the first time that we met, and that conversation alone with him made me really excited and very curious to just start working on this film. I mean, there was no way I was going to say no after that. I realized that he wanted to explore, the relationship between these two characters, Keshav and Amrita, who Darshana Rajendran plays, and he wanted to explore like general human emotions and how humans react in a situation of crisis at a level that I hadn't explored before. So I was scared and excited, and yeah, it was just too good an opportunity to say no to. So I decided to do the film.
Of course. So the idea of the film is about the Sri Lankan 2022 economic crisis that happened. So what was the research that went behind from your side, because you were to portray this character in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, I mean, you can say that the backdrop for the story, or the setting for the story, is the economic crisis in Sri Lanka and what the country and the people in that country went through in that period of time and are still continuing to sort of live with or overcome. As far as the story of the film is concerned, the film travels with a young Malayali couple who go to Sri Lanka in search of a perfect holiday.
Yes.
Because due to the economic crisis, the Indian rupee was at a much higher value than usual. It still is. So they go there to feel rich and have a good time and like find their paradise, and the film travels with them. So they're fairly uninitiated about the situation in the country, and because of that, specifically because of that, the amount of research that we had to do as actors into the political or economic condition of Sri Lanka was very minimal. In fact, Prasnasa wanted us to just turn up there blindly with like whatever we knew was already more than enough. We just had to discover the story and the country and the people in it as we went along. with these two characters. So that's exactly what we did actually with Paradise, and it was a very very it was an incredible experience.
Right. So you said that your character here has had some resonates a little with your previous characters in the Choked. But how close are you to Keshav in real life? Are you somewhat like him?
I don't think so, and I don't think my character has anything close to. I mean, like the character of Sushant that I played in Choked. It was more the core idea of the story, that of it being about a married couple and about a particular rift between them, or a chasm that develops in the relationship because of an external factor. That was a similarity, I think, for me. Keshav and me, I don't know how we're similar, apart from the fact that we're both Malayali, and yeah, I guess like Keshav values his work more than anything else, to an almost unhealthy level. That is his priority. That is his identity. Uh, like he would save his work over anything else on any given day. That, I guess, is a similarity. I don't know if it's something I'm proud of, but it is.
You should be. So, in the recent past, we've seen a lot of regional language films, Indian language films, if I may say, going to a lot of film festivals, and they're winning as well. Recent example is Pariyal Kapariya's All We Imagine as Light. It has won the
Mhm,
grand, and now your film as well. So, do you think it's a
mhm.
good idea for independent makers, for filmmakers from other industries within the country to explore subjects um, uh, that earlier they might not have thought about?
Yeah, I think there were always people thinking about these subjects. It's just about the practicality of getting a project going, or when this is the kind of film that you want to make. Whatever is usually categorized as an independent film is also often put aside when it comes to the business side of things. Like most of those films never see a theatrical release happen. They mostly only find their audiences on an OTT platform or in like other means. So both of these films that you've mentioned, actually, Payal's film and this one, are co-productions. This is an Indo-Sri Lankan co-production. That one, I think, was an Indo-French co-production. So I don't know how much credit we can take for either of these films. I guess there's a certain responsibility that's up to all of us to make sure that the diversity that is there in cinema remains, and for that we have to make sure that we go watch these films that release in theaters, all kinds of films, and don't sort of decide that, okay, this is something that I'll watch in a theater, this particular kind of film I can watch later at some point. I think if you make that choice early on, right at the moment in a film releases, eventually we will be engineering a situation where only a certain kind of films will see a theatrical release, and the other films might not even come on a platform, and hence will become inaccessible and eventually just not get made. I mean, I don't think any particular branch of cinema is going to die at any point, because if that was going to be the case, it would have happened already. Filmmakers will continue to do the work that they do, and ideas will continue to get made into films. It's just about how much visibility, I guess, each project gets.
True. So you've been a star who's multilingual. You worked across industries. So we see in the last decade, if I think so, a lot of Tamil and Telugu films have appealed to a wider set of audience and
Hmm.
accepted them with a lot of love. But when it
Hmm.
comes to the Malayalam industry, we don't see a lot of pan India hits. But on the
Hmm.
other hand, Malayalam stars coming to the Hindi belt of cinema and doing great there. So why do you think Malayalam films are not finding that kind of popularity that Tamil and Telugu films have?
I think it's like only purely based on theatrical numbers, probably, that you can say that, because in fact Malayalam cinema has been getting attention from all over the country, and especially since 2020, since the lockdown phase where everybody was restricted to watching films on OTT platforms at home. Malayalam films are being viewed by people all over the world, and especially people all over India. I've constantly am spoken to about film releases in Malayalam by my friends in Bombay, friends further up north in India. So there is a lot of attention, there is a lot of curiosity, and a lot of keen observation of what's happening here in Malayalam. A lot of our films are definitely being watched. About theatrical pan India releases, I don't know if I'm like the right person to say that. Maybe yeah, like Tamil and Telugu has probably been covering more screens. I don't know what the reason for that is. I've personally just been really happy with the kind of attention that Malayalam cinema has been getting, and I hope that continues.
Right. You've put a lot of impactful characters from Poachers to Darlings and the upcoming film as well now, Paradise. So, what's your idea of? I mean, what kind of roles you like to portray, especially when it comes to pan India releases? Do you think you would want to experiment more in genres that you've not worked in before?
Yeah, I want to try and do all kinds of films. Definitely want to try out all genres, especially the ones that I haven't, tried before. So, like experimenting is right at the top of the table always. It's like first priority. It's what gets me most excited. But there is no, list of, kind of characters or like particular roles that I want to play that I carry around in my head. It's often uh, choices are often like made after I read a particular script. I see if it excites me, I see if that particular character excites me, if it's something different from what I've done before, or even if it's like, the people who are involved in that project, if that's a bunch that I feel like collaborating with, or maybe it's just one person that I like this one particular person's part of that project who I really want to work with. So I'll do the film for that alone. So it's not necessarily character oriented, my choices always. I just try to make sure that I don't end up playing characters which are similar. And like if I have to do that, I at least make sure that there's a fair bit of time between, so that I would have hopefully evolved a little bit so I can play the characters differently. Otherwise, there is no set criteria. All projects I've picked for different reasons.
Yeah. So, talking about
And I think
collaboration.
as far as like pan India releases and all go, one particular thing that, because you mentioned Poacher, and Paradise has that in common with Poacher. It's both of these are multilinguals, so that's one thing that I'm very interested in. I feel like in a country like India, if we decide to not restrict our stories by language, then we have so many more stories to tell, so many more authentic means of telling these stories. None of us, especially those of us who live in cities, none of us get by with just one language anymore. We're all switching languages constantly through the day. Everybody uses like two or three languages. So our films also can do that. So that's one particular area that I'm really interested in. Again, that's just like there's no genre, any genre can fit into like a multilingual
Yeah.
space. So,
You've collaborated with Alia Bhatt twice. What is it that makes you work with her? Are your thoughts, are your creative thoughts similar? And having said that, do you plan to work with her again, or is anything on the cards already?
what would make anybody not want to work with Alia? She's at the top of her game. She's making some incredible work. She is evolving as an artist so beautifully, and I didn't. I mean, I was very, very lucky to be able to work with her in Darlings. Darlings was a film that I specifically did to work with my co-actors. I read the script. I found it incredible. Jasmeet was making her first film. I didn't know this director's body of work. So my first question was who are going to be playing these other three characters. And the moment I heard it was going to be Alia, Shefali, and Vijay, I immediately knew that I had to do the film. And then I was really lucky that Alia decided to come on board for Poacher, and that was very very gracious of her to do. And yeah, I mean like nothing is on the cards right now, but. Every once in a while, there's like one discussion that comes, and Alia's name is mentioned, and I get excited again. So any opportunity to work with her, I will jump at.
Right. So if you were to be a quintessential Bollywood hero, what kind of role would you do? You have anything in mind? Something similar to what some person has done earlier that you would like to do?
No, I guess yeah, like I said earlier, I don't have that particular idea of like I never think about, okay, these are the kind of roles that I want to play or like I should aim at playing. Uh, I don't. I have a list of people in my head, I guess, who like I would love to collaborate with. So if I get an opportunity to, and that's a huge list, there's, like so many talented people, actors, filmmakers, technicians, writers. So like any opportunity to work with any of them, I'll take, and any kind of role is okay as long as it excites me.
Right. So your film is coming in August with Janvi Kapoor Ulaj. So tell us about your
Yeah.
character, and after that, what do we expect your body of work?
It's interesting because we haven't technically started our promotion for Ulaj. I guess this is the first time we're going to be talking about my character in it. So I will try not to spill too much. So Ulaj is, I guess you could call it like a spy thriller or an espionage thriller. It's for me a very very exciting project. It's a kind of film that I haven't done before, and it was a shoot that I really enjoyed. It's directed by Sudhanshu Saria. Sudhanshu was also very particular about, um, the performances he was, drawing out of his actors. He was very particular that we all had to have the chemistry and level of comfort that we needed to like bring these performances out. So we had like workshop sessions before we went into shoot. Jungly Pictures, just producing Ulaj, was also very supportive through the whole process, and I had a lot of fun. Most of my scenes are with Janvi. I had very few scenes with Gulshan, who's also in the film. So yeah, and like I absolutely love and adore both of them as actors. So I sort of wanted more scenes with Gulshan as well, but like all of my most of my scenes were with Janvi, and it was absolutely lovely working with her. She's very dedicated and very committed to bringing the best possible version of a scene out every time you're like working on a scene, and that's exactly the kind of energy that you crave on set when you're working.
Right. So talking about OTT, your work on OTT, what kind of roles or what kind of scripts are you open to for OTTs?
I don't know. I don't make that demarcation actually between like what's going to be a theatrical and what's going to release on OTT. I guess it's only when a series comes up that you already know that okay, this one ye to pakka OTT pe aane wala hai. So like then you know. Otherwise, it's always while you're making it, you don't necessarily most situations you don't necessarily know if this film's going to end up in theaters first or if it's going straight to OTT. Um, and as actors, you don't really need to know that either because it's not like it's essentially going to bring any change to the work that you're doing. Your work remains the same, even if it's a movie or a series. Apart from the time commitment, primarily your work is the same. It's the makers and writers who have the tough job, of like figuring out what needs to be done differently. So yeah, for us, choices are still made for the same old classic reasons.